Hello everybody, happy Friday. Welcome to today's virtual wild encounter with the Memphis Zoo. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Chelsea and I'm an animal interpreter here at the Memphis Zoo. So this week's theme of virtual wild encounters has been tiny but mighty. And we are finishing off the week and ringing in the weekend with one of my admittedly favorite animals, the domestic rat. So I have joining me today my animal coworkers, Queso and Gouda. They also have 6 other rat sisters that are all named after cheeses, but these are the stars joining us today. And it's going to be an Ask a Keeper segment, so please feel free to type in your questions and we'll get to them as we can. And I'm just going to jump right into talking about these guys. So domestic rats, like Queso and Gouda here, are the domesticated form of the brown rat or the Norwegian rat. They have a lot of names, but they're most commonly known by the brown rat. Now, they're not genetically distinct from the brown rat, so they're not a genetically distinct subspecies, but they do have significant differences from the brown rat, including size, coloration, and general behavior. So domestic rats have a good variety of coat colors that they can come in, so they can be hooded and kind of black and dark brown white like this. They could be albino, blonde, a cinnamon blue, and pretty much any other color in between, just kind of like how dog breeds can have different coat patterns. They're running all around giving me a fun time here. And while I'm talking, I think I'm actually just going to have Gouda up because she's a little bit more still, and I'll bring Queso out later. So they have a lot of different colorations and patterns. They can even have different coat textures. So there are some rats that have straight fur just like this, and there are some rats that have curly fur that are called Rex rats. So domestic rats come in all different appearances. Now they also differ in size. They're a little bit smaller than the brown rat. And in behavior, they're more tame than the brown rat, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So breeding of rats for pet life happened around the 18th century. These guys live about 2 to 3 years old, which is also a little bit longer than their brown rat ancestor, simply because they don't necessarily have to worry about predation and disease like a brown rat might have to. They're also omnivorous, which means they eat both meat and plant matter. So here at the zoo, you can kind of see the treats that they were munching on. They get fresh fruits, vegetables, seeds, and a rodent block, which is to make sure that their nutritional needs are met. So rats have really cool behaviors, and they're one of my favorite misunderstood animals. Domestic rats are extremely sociable. So when they're as pets, they have to live with at least one other rat because they live in groups, and they have social structures. So they at least need to live in a pair to make sure that they don't develop any behavioral problems. They also have their own unique personalities. So some rats are more sociable and affectionate than others. Some are a bit more shy. Gouda here and Queso are actually quite outgoing, which is why there are stars today. You could tell they're pretty bold, not at all shy. So some, just like us, they have their own personalities and are very intelligent. And that moves into my next point, how intelligent and trainable rats really are. So rats are extremely smart and have actually contributed a lot to advances in cognitive behavioral research because their neural networks are very similar to those of humans. They're also very trainable. So just like you could train your dog or your pet or any other animal, they're very good at learning behaviors. And here at the zoo, our rats are actually quite new to the program, so we've been working on some cool behaviors with them. They just learned a spin behavior, which since they're new to this location, she might not do it, but the rats did learn a spin behavior, and we have a lot of other fun behaviors planned for them because they're so smart and trainable, and to be able to bond with them. And that training is really good for us and for them for a variety of reasons, and one of the most important is for husbandry. So we can train behaviors like that, for example, a spin behavior, so we can get a good 360-degree look at our rats to make sure that they're looking good all around on their body. Bill, do we have a question?
Well, not a question, but a huge donation from Jungle Jordan, who sends 2,235 stars.
Thank you. You want to go in your glove?
For the rats and Chelsea. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So they have their own unique personalities. They're extremely intelligent and trainable. And another big misconception about them, rats, is that they are dirty animals. But domestic rats actually groom themselves in a single day more than your cat does. And I'm sure if you have a cat, you can imagine how much your cat has groomed themselves before.
Wow. I certainly Didn't know that they were so clean. I think my dog is much dirtier than our friend Gouda and Queso. We have 2 questions from top fans. Just a quick shout out, Jennifer Corley and Evelyn Goldsmith. They ask, are rats dirtier than other pets? And do they usually have an alpha rat?
That is a really good question. So I kind of just talked a little bit about how rats are actually very cleanly animals. I'm going to switch out for Queso here. So you guys have been hanging out with Gouda. I'm going to go ahead and get Queso for you. Boop. This is Queso. So rats are actually, domestic rats are very cleanly animals. And as I mentioned, they clean themselves more in a day, more than a domestic cat would groom themselves. So oftentimes when you look, you can see them grooming and cleaning their bodies and licking and making sure, cleaning their feet and making sure that they stay nice and cleanly because they are very aware of their self-hygiene. They teach us that, we need to practice good self-hygiene. And what was the other question?
Is there such thing as an alpha rat?
Yeah, so rats are very sociable animals and they live in groups. So they do have their own social structures. And so sometimes there is a rat that is more dominant. Queso saying hi to you guys. That is more dominant because they have a lot of social animals like wolves and like rats do have a social structure in which because they have their own personalities, they do follow a rat and respect a rat that may be a bit more dominant.
Wow, I learned something new today. I didn't know that at all. Well, we do have a few other questions coming in.
All right.
One from our friend Becca. Do they know any trained behaviors?
Yes, so I was just mentioning how these guys are a bit new to our program. They're about 1.5 years old, but you can always train animals and rats. So they know how to go in their crate voluntarily, which is really helpful for transporting them to different locations and for husbandry behaviors. They also are in the process of learning a spin behavior, which they can complete. Now, I might try it. Queso seems a bit excited about her environment, so I'm not sure if she will do it, but they did just learn they love corn. This is their favorite treat. Want to try it? She seems pretty excited about possibly leaving off the table. Spin. Good! That was very good. That was actually her first time doing a spin behavior for you guys. So that's exciting for us because we did work hard on training that. She's licking corn off me. So right now they're learning a training behavior for spin, but we have a lot of behaviors in mind for them, including coming to a target, which is a certain shape. So learning a shape for each rat, that way we can get them in certain locations if we need to check up on them or see a certain rat by themselves to make sure they're doing okay. And they also will learn a tap target, which is just to come to the finger we point to, the location we point to with our finger. They're giving me a great time here. So they do have a lot of fun behaviors planned in order to be awesome ambassador rats like they are already becoming. Yes.
All right. Wow. Well, I'm certainly excited to see more behaviors coming up in the future. That was a really great spin. Give us a round of applause in the chat for our friend Queso. Now we have a few other questions. One from Jennifer again. Do the rats like to play? Do they have best friends?
Very cute question. The rats do like to play. They each have their own unique personalities, like I said, and again, sometimes even scientists have found that rats like to be tickled. You can tickle them and play with them and rub them if they trust you and you respect them and their body language is showing you that they're open to it. They also like to play with each other, and because they have those unique personalities and social structures, they do have their own rat best friends and rats that you might find them hanging out with a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I think you are the favorite for Queso and Gouda. We actually have a rat slide that they like to go down and play with. Sometimes they'll even ignore food just to play with the slide. That's how much they like playing and having fun. Now we have a quick question from Jennifer Pugh who asks, why do rats always get depicted in sewers? Do they eat sewage? Do you want to field this one?
No, go for it.
Well, I think I have a good answer for that. It's because rats like dark places, and sewers actually have a lot of food and lots of animal matter and lots of other animals that call them homes, such as groundhogs or other mammals. But I think they get depicted in that mostly because rats were blamed for many diseases and outbreaks all throughout human history. And most of it was actually the cause of human sanitation issues, not rats. So they get a bad rap, but I think with our cute friends Gouda and Queso, you can see that they wouldn't want to spend too much time in a sewer, neither would I. Hopefully that answers your question. Wow, we're getting a whole lot of applause for that rat spin. That is fantastic.
Yay, thank you so much. I would see Gouda. Gouda, do you want to try?
Now, we have a couple other questions. One, what is your favorite part about being a zookeeper?
Oh, that is an amazing question. It's always really hard because I have a lot of fun parts of my job. But I would have to say one of my favorite parts of being a zookeeper is the education part. So especially as an animal interpreter, we get to do a lot of talking to you guys and programs and shows. And so getting to share the knowledge that we learn with you guys and spark some passion for conservation is really fulfilling for us. And it's really one of the main reasons that I personally do my job, is to inspire others to care about animals and the wild through animal ambassadors, and maybe even get excited about possibly doing something like this too in the future.
Truly inspiring. Wow. That is great. We do have a few shout outs. Thank you for everyone putting your claps in the chat, for Jennifer and Cindy. And shout out to Andrew. I will keep up providing info as long as you keep asking questions. We have a question from Melissa Hightower. Will fixing male rats stop them from peeing on everything?
I'm not actually sure. We actually have 8 rats here at the zoo, and they are domestic. They're all female. So all 8 of our rats are female, which is recommended that you keep them in same-sex groups. I'm not sure though. Bill, do you know the answer?
Well, it may stop that if it gets neutered very early in its lifetime. However, that behavior may not stop if you neuter it later in its lifetime. One thing you should know, though, is that rats urinate and defecate all the time. They're just little tiny creatures, and they have a high metabolism, which means their body processes food very quickly. So that means that their digestive tract and their urinary tract also goes through nutrients very quickly. So you may just have to deal with rat urine as long as you have rats close in contact with you. But as I said, if you neuter it early in its lifetime, that may help with territorial marking. And we do have, thank you, Bella, for that clarification. Rats do have to go to the bathroom. Thank y'all. All right, back to you, Chelsea.
All right. So I'm just going to talk a little bit more about them as pets. So as we've learned, they are extremely intelligent, trainable, and have the potential to be affectionate and social animals. But they still require a lot of important care. So they are commitment, possibly a 2 to 3 year commitment, because that is their lifespan. And they must live in at least a same-sex pair. So they've got to live at least with one other rat, because they might develop behavioral problems if they live by themselves, because again, they're super social animals. So you have to have at least 2 rats, you have to have enough space for 2 rats, and you have to make sure that they live in a clean home, they have fresh food, fresh water, and that you spend time with them and socialize with them, because you really want to utilize how cool and unique rats are as a pet. So they could be really good pets if you do your research and are willing to put in that commitment and care. And just not talking about domestic rats, but wild rats, while they may have been depicted as bad or gross, they are super important in the wild, just as every other animal is, and serves its own important role. So rats have a really important role as a prey item out in the wild. So a lot of animals eat them. So they are a key part of the food web. And so if rats were to go away, or there weren't to be a lot of rats, a lot of animals wouldn't be able to eat. So that would mess up the entire food chain and ecosystem. They're also seed spreaders. So they might have seed stores that they have, and they forget about those seeds, and it helps with vegetation growth. So rats serve an important role in the ecosystem by being a big prey item in the food web, and also by helping vegetation growth.
Wow, I didn't know that they were so important to the ecosystem. They're definitely important seed spreaders. You can see on that towel there's lots of sunflower seeds that she's been going through. Well, we do have a few more shout outs. I just want to give a quick shout out to Joan Botts, who sends 200 stars. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next to Jennifer Corley, who says, thank you so much for doing these. We love watching from Arizona and California.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. So glad to have you.
And a hello from Arkansas. It's great to have you listening from all over the United States. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
She is very excited about the edge of this table.
Well, we are wrapping up on our 15-minute mark. If you have any other questions, feel free to send them in. To Jungle Jordan, we use open broadcasting software to get our animal family to your live stream. All right, and thank you to Mary Bolton, who sends 150 stars.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with us today. Again, like Bill said, if you have any other questions, please feel free to shoot them down in the comments. I'm so happy that you tuned in with us this week for our tiny but mighty segment with virtual encounters, and I hope that you become infatuated with rats just like I do, because they are super duper cute. Right, Gouda? But thank you, guys.